Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to Monogatari. Tonight, episode 1 of Zoku Monogatari. So, first, okay, the most important thing first, before we go skipping in. This first episode of Zoku, I'm gonna be reading the comments for the end of Owari, right? That's what we've done for every other arc, right? Where, like, the first episode of the next season, we're like, kind of finishing up the conclusion of the last one, you know? So I'm gonna be looking at those comments in a minute here. But I've been recommended to not do comments for each Zoku episode. And I'm also going to try to speed it up. And the reason for that is that it came out, like, as one movie, right? But for me, it's 6 episodes. And so it's kind of like, I think there were some worries about, like, a pacing thing where it's like, if you stop and read comments, like, after the first 30 minutes of the movie, like, that's kind of weird. But we're also not doing it as a big one-off thing so that we have time. So, like, I don't know. That's the plan, okay? I'll just listen to what people tell me. We'll look at all the comments at the end. So, what that'll be, just to reiterate clearly, this episode I'm looking at comments for Owari Season 2, Episode 7, Ougi Dark. And then for each Zoku thereafter, I'm not going to be looking at comments except for probably the end of the last one, or maybe we'll do like a post-Zoku thing or something. I don't freaking know. But, so, I will read them eventually. I'm just not going to read them between episodes like I've been doing up to this point because of the movie format. That's what I've been recommended, so I'm just going to go for that, right? That's your plan. But yeah, what is going on here? What is the plan? It's actually pretty crazy. So let me just, boom, this is comments for Episode 7, right? It's crazy that this was only 8 days ago. This feels like this was like, it's weird. It feels like this was already a lifetime ago in a way, right? Like it was like the conclusion of this arc was so like big and like powerful. It's something that's been like building up for me for literally like a year and a half at this point that like, you know, I just needed to, like, take some time. Like, because usually this is coming out a little later than I would have liked it to. Like, starting Zoku, right? But it literally was just the point of, like, I just wasn't ready to go back in, bro. I wasn't ready to re-enter the trenches, okay? I needed some time on the back lines. I needed to speak to my family, man. I needed to I don't know. I was going for, like, a war metaphor. It fell apart. Who cares? But, yeah. It just feels like it was a lifetime ago, so it's amazing that it was only 8 days ago. There's a lot here. We'll do a slow little. There's a lot of comments here, lots of words, you know. So we'll probably be here for a minute. I'll try to be pretty quick though. Do I want to do this? We're also at a point. I'll just go top to bottom with this. At a point though, we're gonna look at the scene comparison for Owari and Bake. And it's kind of funny, I did do a Bake episode 1 rewatch, and that came out yesterday, like a day before this video came out, so it should be right before this one on the playlist, right? And so I saw a couple parallels just when I was rewatching Bake. Well, I was watching my reaction to Bake, so it was a little different, but, and then we already, of course, like, already in this one, like, I think skimmed through a little bit of that, yeah, like right here. So we've seen a little bit of it, but there's like a much more explicit one that I'll watch. But I'll time that, I think. So yeah, let's just go top to bottom. New Monogatari season is just announced. Is massive, by the way. I mentioned that at the end. It's just the timing is impeccable, bro. Right when we're hitting the finale, because I'd say this is like, I don't know what's about to happen with Zoku, but this really felt like the climax of the show for reasons that I'll like get into in a minute. So for us to like watch it and then get the announcement to happen right when I'm watching it is crazy. Yeah, and that was so fun. This point's really interesting. This is the first time Shinobu says Aragi's name. I assume, like, does she say Koyomi? I mean, I'll need to rewatch this. I assume it's the scene where they're like reconnecting or something like that. I don't remember exactly, or maybe in the end when we like went to Shinobu, like after credits. So I don't know. I'll look for that a little bit. That definitely is important. I mean, I'm curious to what that means. Like I don't really know how to take that, right? That Shinobu says Aragi's name, because I mean they're already so connected that it's not like I wouldn't say. It's hard for me to say that it's something similar to like jumping to a first name from a last name, kind of like what was going on with Senjo, where it's like, oh, like now they're on a deeper level. Like I feel like Shinobu and Araragi are already kind of on the deepest level they can go in a lot of ways. Like I mean, you can always connect more, I guess, but that feels like I feel like there's probably something else going on that's like more reflective of like oddity nature. But I don't really know. So yeah, I don't know how to take that, but I think that is important. I'll look for it in the scroll through a little bit. And then yeah, the Oshino parallel to Bake is just crazy. You know, like people help yourself thing, and that was like. That was, I think, very obviously connected in how Oshino, like, showed up and said, like, you finally, like, helped yourself or whatever he says. So, I mean, that's just peak, right? I love that. And I just, this comment, I love this comment, by the way. This journey was almost as peak as Monogatari itself. That is, like, always the goal, bro. Like a little mini tangent, because this comment speaks to something that's so important to me. Like, one of the main reasons that I, like, started making these videos is I watched, like, a playthrough of... what was it? And I've seen this, it's happened a couple times, but, so let me run it back a little bit. Like, whenever I've watched certain, like, Let's Plays or, like, reactions or whatever, sometimes the Let's Play or the reaction is so good that it itself becomes, like, a piece of content or, like, a piece of, like, art in a sense. Like, as much as a show would be, right? That the emotions that the person goes through and, like, the commentary and the jokes are so, like, quality that it, like, kind of elevates from just reflecting off the media into being media itself. And the one that comes to that comes to mind for me, so random, is Berlizzi's playthrough of Telltale's The Walking Dead. Dude, that just hit me for some reason, bro. I watched that and it all clicked like a couple years ago when I watched that, right? And so when I watched that, I was like, bro, it would be so cool if one day I could do that, you know? That like I could like interact with something that's like powerful and it be so like and it be at all comparable to what I'm reacting to or like what I'm responding to or just a thing on its own, right? That it's more than just a reflection. So like hearing this kind of thing is like exactly like, I don't know, that just like hits me right where the money is, you know, of like the goal of like even doing this, you know? So I really appreciate that. Peak. We are so back. What was going on here? Bookending the story. This story does we've already seen the bookending this story does last episode of Bake 1 parallels, but this episode has a Bake 1 tie-in. Yeah, so this is really important. So the first words in the show spoken, right, are Araragi saying, "I was right to avoid her, wasn't I?" followed by, "No, maybe I was wrong." That is the craziest thing I've ever read in my entire life. You know what I mean? It's just perfect, you know? Like, I was right. It's starting off with Araragi doubting his actions. It's starting off with him judging himself. And then the conclusion in Owari Season 2, like 90 whatever episodes later, is him finally saying, I'm right. I'm right for this. I'm not wrong for this, right? Because that's the conclusion when he's lost his arm and he's looking down at Ougi, and Ougi says like, I was wrong. You're actually the worst person. You're horrible. Like you're the worst kind of person or whatever she says. And then Araragi says, no, I'm not wrong for this, right? I feel like it's this first time in the story that he actually affirms himself as not being wrong. Because up to this point, I mean, and we've seen it in like Maoi Hell, you know, where he's like asking Hachikuji about like the different kinds of like right things to do, you know, and that's where like the pitch black righteousness idea comes from. And then like, I don't know, we see that like so many times in the recent arcs, and that keeps coming to mind about like Araragi stressing about that. I think back to the Koyomi chapters, right, where he's asking a bunch of people like the different paths, like the road metaphor, right, where it's like, how do I even do this? Like, it comes from him not knowing, right? It comes from an unsureness on his self, so he's asking all the people around him. And so it's always been Araragi doesn't know, and yet he's bound by such extreme, like, black and white ideas of justice that are complicated and kind of broken, and his, like, own emotions and, like, wanting to, like, be the hero, save other people, and then kind of getting mixed in with, like, and then that kind of grows with, like, recklessness and, like, blah, blah, blah. The entire story, right? But just for it to have been keyed in at the very beginning, and then, like, only in the last couple arcs, I feel like, have we really started to, like, really think about, like, especially Sodachi, right? Like, when we got that democracy business going on, right? As soon as the word justice, judgment, etc. came into play, then it was like, oh my goodness, that's what Araragi's asking about himself and his actions. And that is, I think, the key of the, like, one of the biggest keys of the story. I mean, I think that's the overarching narrative, right? The closest thing to an overarching narrative up to this point that's actually seen its conclusion, right? So, or like some semblance of a conclusion, right? And so yeah, like what you could easily call the climax of the story as a whole, I think is a good read. It's crazy that it keeps going, right? In a lot of ways, this feels like, I mean, it literally in the framing of the episode is Araragi. It's Bake 1, right? Like we've seen that, and we're gonna watch that clip. It's literally called pinkissmelly.mp4. Yeah, excuse me. But yeah, we'll watch that. And so for this episode to not only be a callback thematically to the beginning, but also literally visually, it's a callback to all those things at the beginning, where it's like, I don't know, we're kind of repeating ourselves, right? But I think there's such a key difference that Araragi, that this is so different. That Araragi's not saying, no, maybe I was wrong. He's saying, no, I wasn't wrong. That's literally it, right? And I mean, that's something we were talking about. Just another example of that being so prevalent with Ougi, where Ougi was talking. I made the reference to like normative versus applied ethics, which I think does work really well. Where Ogi's only analyzing the rightness, the justice of situations like after the fact, and like looking back and be like, okay, we can see if our side was right or if our side was wrong or whatever. And so you were right in this situation, you were wrong in this situation. So it's kind of like always post hoc. Whereas Araragi is like scrambling for some sort of like normative thing that he can then he can use to apply, as opposed to only unpacking justice after it's been applied, right? Because that's like the judgment aspect, right? Where he wants to be able to use that to like help out his next action, as opposed to only reflect, right? Because what's the point of reflection if it doesn't like somehow help your next action, right? And so yeah, like we saw it back then, and so now for him to finally himself affirm his rightness, I think is literally so incredibly important. Reminds me of Kombudu too. Reminds me of Kombudu in when she was yelling at Shinobu, right, about Seishiro, about the first minion, and it was like she was saying things that were wrong in a lot of ways, right? She was making exaggerations and assumptions and such. But like through like almost sheer power of will and sheer power of like emotion, she didn't doubt herself, right? Everything she said, she had already like self-affirmed and then was pushing out, right? I don't think within Kombudu she's going like, am I right, am I wrong? She's literally just expressing, right? She's just pushing it out into the world. And so in a way, I find that to be similar to now what Araragi's done, where instead of him having all this internal doubt, he's actually able to make that self-affirmation and then say, no, I'm not wrong for this, in the same way that Kombudu's already done that, and that's what allows her to like be pushing, like be so expressive, right? So I think this is not at all an overemphasizing. I would say this is, I think, and I literally have it up, right? I'm not wrong, right here, Araragi says. I think that's like perhaps one of the most important lines in the show, for sure. Just because it ties back to Sodachi, it ties back to all these conversations with Ougi, it ties back to the conversation with Hachikuji in Owari Hell, it ties, or in Mayoi Hell, it ties back to the first sentence of the show, and then we're also getting the visual tiebacks. It's just like, that is kind of, I think, one of the big central points. So big, if true, very, very pog. Just wanted to underline that a million times. The Araragi, yeah. So yeah, super true. It's his story after all. It is. 2 new seasons. So yeah. Shouldn't scream into the mic. Probably shouldn't be doing that, huh? So, this is I like this. This is kind of a, almost like a summation of, like, a lot of the Araragi growth up to this point, right? He closed his heart and mind to other people for fear that a majority with a different philosophy than him would change him. I think that's a really good thing to, like, think about, especially how that parallels like, one of the last things in what we saw in Ougi Dark, where he says, even if I'm changing, I'm always me. So it's like an acceptance that like the different you is still you. And so if you get changed by like what the majority believes, like if the majority's philosophy changes your mind, that doesn't mean you're no longer you, right? Like it's like you're like stubbornly clinging to what you are because you're afraid of what you will be, you know? And perhaps afraid that it won't be you anymore if you get adjusted, right? It's almost like fear of the bandwagon or something like that. And so for Araragi to make an acceptance of that, of the possibility of change, I think is so important. It's crazy because Ougi says, like, you haven't changed, Araragi, right? And the funny thing is, like, in a lot of ways he hasn't. Like, similar to Bake 1, he's running down the stairs to, like, chase after some oddity-ridden girl. You know, literally what he did with Senjo Gahara way back. And so like it's almost like consequentially his actions aren't changing, but his like mentality and his like self, I think his self-image have changed a lot, right? In that he's self-affirmed his rightness and wrongness in a way that I don't think he has before. That doesn't mean this won't be tested more, but I do think it means that like progress has been made, right? And then I forgot my second point that I had. Dang it! No, it's fine. It's fine. Trust. It's fine. Just breathe. Okay. But yeah, that he did not deserve all these loves, etc., etc. Reaching his maximum point when he went to be killed by Gon. And then yeah, the big point of he is worth as much as others because they're also willing to give a part of themselves for him, and that's why he needs to love himself. Change is not a bad thing, etc., etc. Yeah, especially that first point was like so crazy to me because that's kind of been like, I feel like I've probably yelled at him and said that kind of thing like all along, right? Let me blow out my candle. Where like, bro, like they love you, and so if you love them and you're willing to, because this is the thing, like he's willing to die for other people, right? He's willing to get hurt for other people, but like I like realizing that you should also be like it's this crazy thing with Ougi that I feel like he's willing to die for himself. You know what I mean? And that feels like such a juxtaposition, right? That almost feels like paradoxical. Where it's like, how could you be willing to die for yourself? Because if you die for yourself, then you're dead. And so it's like, what have you died for, you know? A corpse, right? But there's something about like, and that's kind of what happens with Ougi, right? Where instead of losing Ougi, he's willing to go into a lover's suicide with Ougi, for Ougi, which means with himself, for himself. So it's not like, but it feels different than dying for dying's sake, right? Like it feels different to suicide for me. Because, like, when you're killing yourself, I don't think you're doing it because, well, it's so hard to talk about, right? Like, it's so complicated, I think, for a lot of different people. So, like, I'm not going to be right in, like, every situation. But I would say, overall, it's not like you're killing yourself because that's the right thing to do by you. I think it's like you're doing that because you're trying to escape from a lot of wrongs that are being pushed onto you, right? Where it might be more similar to, with Araragi here, it might be more similar to like dying for an ideal, right? Where you're like being a martyr for like some greater cause, where it's like, yeah, I'll die for my beliefs, you know? And you see that all sort, you know, history, literally like bunch of examples. There's a bunch of like saints that have been martyred or whatever, right? Or like the one that comes to mind is the Buddhist monk that like lit himself on fire. That's a very striking image, if you know what I'm talking about. I think it was a Buddhist monk. I might be wrong, but either way, the idea of like being willing to kill yourself for something greater, or being willing to become... Oh my goodness. My power just went out. That's never happened before. Wait, am I still recording? Wait, I need to see if... That's crazy. Okay, we're back. I turned off the recording because the power... if you just saw the power flickered, that was very strange. This has never happened to me before. Like, I don't think that's literally ever... Well, maybe like once, like way back when I was watching Evangelion. But no, that was weird. Just completely... Ougi, bro. Ougi's in my pipes right now. Ougi was like, oh, you're talking to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was cool, I guess. Back to what I was saying. Let's see if we can get back on the track. I don't even remember where we were, bro. Something about how... Okay. So, killing yourself for yourself, suicide. I think that's kind of where I was at, right? So, I think there is... I'll just kind of repeat a little bit. Sorry, it's going to be a little... It might be a little schizo for a second here. I think there is a very big distinction between dying or being willing... Oh, yeah, I'm here. Dying for an ideal, right? So, like, there's a very big difference between martyring yourself or dying for some sort of ideal versus dying because you don't want to live anymore, right? I think those are very markedly different. And so, with Araragi, I think he's been... It's always kind of teetered a little bit, where I think only... Like, there might be a few instances, like, Is it Neko Kuro? I always forget the freaking season names, right? There might be a few instances that he literally is like kind of just ready to like martyr him, or like have himself die, and it's kind of more for the purpose of death than it might be to help someone. I'm thinking of the time that Black Hanakawa cut him in half and he was the sword sheath, you know? I remember that was kind of a discussion at that time. But I think overall, a lot of the time when Araragi's willing to die for someone or willing to get very, very hurt for someone, right? With that recklessness we've talked about, that usually comes out of I want to help them and I value myself low, so it's really easy to use myself as a tool. And so like, it's less of I want to die because I want to die, and more so I'm willing to die for this end that I care about. And the willingness to die is something that we can be kind of careful, we can be kind of worried about, right? Though also I think it's important that like Araragi is someone that I think is very selfless in a lot of ways. So it's not, it's a complicated situation, right? And so what I see here with Ougi is Araragi, it's crazy. Araragi will always throw himself into the meat grinder to save someone else. And so the way that this panned out is that a part of himself became another person. And so it like almost took advantage of that pattern of his, where if Ougi asks for help, he's gonna help Ougi because he helps anyone that asks for help. And so if himself asks for help, then he has to do it, right? Especially if himself is manifesting as like a second person. And so I feel like he almost like got tricked into, like in a way, into helping himself, right? Into like saving himself because he was asked to. And that I think is a really good way to call out that this part of other people are willing to like save you. Other people, like you matter to other people, right? And so you must love yourself. And so in this situation, he had to see himself from an external lens, right? And that's why Ougi is an external part of him. And so he's seeing himself. He's seeing like the parts of himself that he likes the least in a lot of ways, right? Ougi, like this scary, mean, sadistic, judgmental part of himself, self-critical part of himself. He sees that externally in the same way that everybody else looks at him externally, because that's how like, people look at each other, right? That's just kind of how that's how people work, right? We don't look at each other in each other's heads. And so it kind of calls out that misconnection of his, which then ends up being really important, I think, for the climax, right? What was the other point? Something about Araragi, Ougi. The part where you start to die for yourself. And then it gets complicated because of the lover's suicide idea that gets thrown in, where homeboy's willing to, and that's because that's what Ougi says, right? Like, him willing to die for himself, I kind of see similar as willing to die for an ideal, where it's like he's finally caring about himself in a way that he cares about other people. But the thing is, in the way he cares about other people, it's always throwing his own life at it and being willing to like sacrifice his life for it. And so he's then throwing his own life at himself, being willing to sacrifice his life for himself. So it's like an almost paradoxical situation where I think he's willing to die for himself, but it's not because he wants to die, but it's because he's finally seeing himself as something worth dying for. Boom. Right? That's how I'm kind of seeing it. Which is an incredibly like interesting dynamic, right? In like because I kind of like it though, right? Like you care about yourself so much that you're willing to die for yourself. That I feel like that's where, and I don't know if he's fully there yet, but I think that's the direct, like it was a huge step in that direction, where he started to apply what he's done onto other people onto himself, right? So I do see himself as largely changed in a lot of ways, even if like by straight actions, even if consequentially he's like very similar, right? Yeah, and that's even what, and then like, I mean that's backed up by like Oshino, right? Like the entire Oshino quote of like everyone saves himself thing, which has been referenced many times, right? Is Oshino comes in and then is proud of him because he finally has fought for himself. He's finally saved himself. And that's like a perfect parallel way back to Bake, because that's when it was, we're getting all these scene similarities. I'll watch that now. We're getting all these scene similarities to Bake. And so us finally seeing, or like, so we're already connected to Bake in that way where Oshino was like the most prolific, like most active, right? And so to actually see his quote finally get manifested to Araragi here, I think makes sense that this was kind of largely the point of what was being done here, right? So pinkish smelly .mp4, let's watch this. This I think is just the scene comparison. Who titled this? I'm gonna have to look through which one of you did this in the Discord, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, but let's get this going in a 3, a 2, a 1, bang. That is just crazy. I remember this one. I remember that one, the swipe. The swipe's crazy. Man, even the positions they're standing in are the same. That's just wild. It's crazy. It's like this idea of like the past repeating itself that I really like. You know? Where it's like as much as we've changed, we've remained the same. Right? As much as times have changed, I'm doing the same thing all over again. Like it almost feels like fate, right? In the way that Aragi's talked about fate before. Where he's just kind of at the whims of it or whatever. Like I think that was Suki, you know? And so it's kind of similar to that. Where like events are like the past is like motivating the future is motivating the present, right? The past is the blueprint for the future. And so oh, Shinobu's not there. Of course she's not, right? But it's cool that there's still the shadow there, right? Oh, and Araragi's in Oshino's seat? Damn. Damn. That's crazy. Nah, but yeah, there's something about like the repetition being like fatalistic, you know? Or I don't know if fatalistic's the right term, but bound in that way. And so it's like in so many ways it's the same, right? Which kind of makes it feel like we haven't changed at all, you know, because the scenes are the same. But then the ultimate realization is that even if in a lot of ways we haven't changed, so much has changed, right? And it's crazy. I mean, Ougi loses the conversation with Tsukihi, right? She loses. And so, whereas Araragi, I don't think lost as much. Like, he succeeded in helping Senjo and getting her to accept Oshino's help, right? And so, that itself is kind of a crazy... Like, that itself is a difference. That as much as it is repeating, it doesn't repeat perfectly. Like, as much as the future... Man, and I keep saying this, like, past manifests in the future thing. That's just something a lot of philosophers talk about, man. And I'm like, I won't get into it, but, like, I literally was talking about this, I think with Heidegger, literally the other day. So it's just, like, I just like that idea, man. It's interesting. Temporality, dude. Yeah. So, I won't get into that, though, because it will take, like, way too long, and I'm not smart enough to be able to make it nice and succinct. Not smart enough yet. Maybe one day. But, yeah. So I really like that. That's cool to see. And it's funny because when we rewatched Bake 1, a couple of those shots, I was like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? So, yeah. What have I read here? So, closing your heart is not good. Opening your heart completely is not good either. Learn to maintain your convictions without letting them blind you. We go for a little Aristotelian mean right there. Would love to see it. This is cool. This is the kanjis, how the kanjis are playing like with each other. Of Hanakawa, or the Hane of Wing in Hanakawa being like, how is it, the character for Ougi is, it's like wank, it's like underneath the little fan, so it's like we got the little fanny thing here, and so the wings are like underneath the fan part, or something like that, yeah, and so yeah. I understand. It's crazy because it's literally the way the pictures are connected to each other, right? Which is so different than like the English alphabet, right? Where, you know, the shapes of the letters aren't like connected to each other in that way. So viewing language as not only like kind of like what is it? Is epistemology the word? No. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the word for the history of how words work, how words got created, or like the through line of like words. So it's like the Latin roots or whatever. What is that word? Who cares? Words are made up. But yeah, it's so much different than like the way that I usually kind of like see the through lines of language, where instead of it being like, oh look, here's like we have the word blank, and then it's like the beginning and the end, and the beginning comes from this word, and then it goes back to the Greek, and like oh the lethe, blah blah blah. Where instead it's like imagery. I don't know, it's just sick. So, anyways, I can't make fun of you for finally taking care of yourself, Cooks, and that's like, you know, reference to. I mean, it's a reference to like Oshino's sentiment overall. Yosh literally going insane arc. We love to see it. This is funny as well, how like you got like fake spoiled. You got like fake out spoiled, right? Which then causes you to freak out because you think Senjo or Shinobu is gonna get killed or something. But that's not at all what happens. It's kind of crazy. I think I've had that kind of thing happen before with certain shows. Not anything I've reacted to, but kind of crazy how that works. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah. This I thought was a really cool point. I really liked this point. Ougi as an existence that criticizes Araragi does not. She did not agree with Araragi's willingness to sacrifice himself for others easily. However, she ended up doing something similar. In order to make Araragi's adolescence more righteous, she was willing to meet Tsukihi even though she knew that was a trap and she would end up being exterminated. Yeah, she, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, right? Like, she carries that, like, self-sacrificial nature in the same way that Araragi did, you know? Where she's willing to, like, die in that way, right? And that's just... It just makes sense. It just makes sense, right? It's also kind of interesting, like, I don't know, like, I guess, I wonder if that's at all a clue into, like, how Araragi feels about that, like, that nature of his, right? That self-sacrificial nature of his. Where if Ogi's also doing it, then, like, does he view, like, he views it as something, well, yeah, because it's criticized, right? I need to see Ogi's wording again to really be sure, but, yeah. So I think that's a great point to make. Going through the spoiler comments is fun. People have mentioned going through the Discord because there's a huge, like, all the Discord text, like half of it in the Monogatari forum is literally blacked out because it's all spoiler tagged, and so I can't read it, but other people are talking about, like, future arcs or whatever. So people have said, like, oh, go back through and, like, read some of that too. It's a shame there's, like, I think there's literally 50,000 plus messages in that forum though, so it would take me forever. It would take so long to read that entire chat. There's been unfathomable amounts of yapping in that chat, but yeah. The different ways that, like, or the different times that people are like, the Ougi true identity is fun. I like this. The bike is like one last gift from Araragi's childhood to himself. The new bike. I love this sentiment, right? Because that's also what Ougi is with adolescence, right? Like the last bit of extra righteousness before the adolescence goes away, but then Araragi isn't willing to let that part of himself go yet, and he's willing to actually fight for it, you know? And so, I like the sentiment a lot. Yeah, basically Pog. Reminds me of that other sentiment. The foreshadowing done in Season 3 for Season 4 novels has always been so cool to me. That's crazy to me. Because it's like, bro, what are we foreshadowing next? What even is next to come? I feel like the big things is, like, understanding more of the nature of the darkness, I think would be really interesting because of the whole reason that, like, because I think it was described as the, like, unconscious collective humanity rules, whatever. And so that always has been, like, I don't know, like, as much as I kind of take it at face value, I feel like there's more going on, especially with, like, how oddities are based in perception. So if there's ways to, like, morph that and, like, change how people view oddities or how oddities view oddities, because, like, it's kind of, this was what made me think of, like could you view... Because, like, oddities are based in what people think, period, right? It's, like, based in people's perceptions. But, like, what if the darkness is in some way based in oddities' perceptions? Because the darkness reminded me of, like, cognitive dissonance, where it's, like, as much as a human, like, if a human acts a way that they view is very different to, like, their true self or whatever, then that's, like, cognitively dissonant, and that can cause, like, problems, right? And so it's, like, that same kind of idea with an oddity, where an oddity, if they're pretending to be something they're not... right? If they act like cognitively dissonant in that way, then they get hoed, and the hoeing comes from the darkness, as opposed to whatever the hoeing comes from, like, psychologically for a human. And so, like, that's kind of, like, it makes me feel like maybe the darkness is somewhat based in oddities rather than humans or something. But I honestly, what was it, in Owarimonogatari? So I'd have to go rewatch all of, like, Owarimonogatari. Yeah. So, yeah. We are so back. I love this animation too. This is great animation. Hanakawa is showing back up is such a dub. Even if they animated her as, like, a still frame that just slid in, I would still pog my pants off, bro. Even if the animation was crap, I don't care. I love it. The different Ougi OP music. Oh, at the very end. Oh yeah, the ending music was fire. Rum rum rum. This I definitely think is really important. Is there something, like, new here? Because this is a large part of what I've been, like the self-acceptance was something I've been rambling about, right? The choosing to actually looking right here, because we've been talking about aversion eyes Andy all along, right? Araragi do be an aversion and an eye averter, and so he's also looking at it like a declaration that that side of me isn't evil. Yeah, like, he accepts, like, I'm not wrong for saving you, you know? Like, you are one worth saving. I'm actually looking you in the eyes and dealing with you instead of looking away, like, forgetting you constantly, because he's been forgetting Ougi all along. So I think that totally is like a huge connection, right? And it being a precursor to the Hana is interesting. The thing with the Hana thing is like that is coming from Kamburu lens, so I am curious to what degree like she just is. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's kind of interesting, right? Exactly. How grounded is Araragi in Hana Monogatari? Like, I don't know. We only get such a small sample size of Araragi that it's hard to like base a lot. But I do think overall this is like true. That it's like, I mean, he's in a car. I mean, that enough is big. Boom, bang. Sound of my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on and on. Big Hanakawa win. Okay, so here's a big one. A big little comment right here. So I'm gonna take this piece by piece. I'm gonna jump through a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna hit every single thing because we got things to do. But so the tangent in the beginning about because I think that was about like you do like people being too protective of their media as the best makes them like not accept other media, and it like makes it so they don't like connect with other media as much because they're too busy trying to like prize their media. I still think that's important, right? Like, and it's not necessarily even talking about like you as an individual, but I think that is something people do a lot. And it's something that I think people shouldn't do as much if they want to enjoy media, because so I think that's important. Like, for example, like as attention spans get shorter, it becomes increasingly unlikely for someone to write something like this again, which was already very unlikely in the first place. Like, it was crazy. I was kind of thinking of like, okay, what are like other series or like other pieces of media that like that are kind of like similar in this kind of sense. And one that like came to mind, it's like random. I feel like some like philosophical texts are kind of like this, where there's so much like foreshadowing and like elements that like contradict but then actually really like tie together, and like poetic language that requires like an incredible amount of like interpretation, and et cetera, right? Like, it reminds me of like Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which is my favorite. I'm always gonna plug it. That's my boy right there. It reminds me of that text in a way. It's definitely obviously very different because they're less of like narrative puzzles and more so just like a ton of like it's definitely not entertainment though, right? Like a lot of like philosophical texts as being like by genre aren't really done as entertainment. They're kind of done for like certain ideas, right? And so I think you can find that like in a lot of places, you know, even outside of like things that are perhaps disguising as entertainment or like also doing the entertainment role. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just one of those things where I don't know. I already said most of my thoughts on this subject, but if it truly is if you truly really do think that like attention spans are getting shorter, which yeah, perhaps, there's also a lot more people on the planet, so like they're probably, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people on this hoe, right? Even if like 90% of humanity has their attention span hoed, like 10% of 7 billion is a lot. Or are we at 8 billion now? I don't even know how many people there are. There's a ton of them hoes. But yeah, and even if this is happening and it's like, you know, no one's gonna write something like this again, a lot of stuff in the past has been written that I think has some similarities, that like a similar feeling, you know, some sort of similar experience can be found, right? But I don't know. It's up to you. I don't, you know, you do you. And the thing is, it's not even about, like, again, comments are sounding boards for discussion more than reflections of, like, the way I use it is sounding boards for discussion as opposed to, like, comments on the individual behind the comment. You know what I mean? So, I will go on, basically Pog. Yeah, like this kind of thing of, like, the foreshadowing that makes no sense for a long time and then is recontextualized later, etc., etc. This is an interesting idea that, like, we've never left Araragi's perspective in an Araragi arc, and even more specifically, Araragi has never given internal thoughts of another character, which had nothing to do with their conversation. I'm referring to Tsuki's "Have we met" thought. So, like, we've never left Araragi's perspective, except visually, he's thinking about someone else in an Araragi arc. Like, have we really not? I mean, I don't know, like, I guess it's to a degree, because we definitely do get visual jumps. Like, how many times have we had a conversation that Araragi wasn't there for in an Araragi arc? I feel like that's probably happened. But, like, my memory's not good enough. I feel like this would be, like, a really fun rewatch project, right? Where you just watch everything and you try to catch any time that, like, either a leaving of perspective or an internal thoughts are said by the person that's not by or said by someone that's not the narrator, because then that would be like perhaps important. But yeah, I kind of just I'm kind of just I don't know if that's true, so I'm just gonna accept it as kind of true. But yeah, I think it's perhaps a very interesting point. That requires further analysis, basically. This part. Araragi so I'm just gonna read the comment. Araragi is part of it. Araragi is once again doing his best to pull the wool over your eyes, but the fact of the matter is that his suicide would have succeeded. His last act before accepting this quote-unquote lover's suicide, a reference to narcissism, is what he's always done, trying to kill himself while pretending it's to save someone else, falling by admitting that it was for himself right before he gets swallowed. Like, so I don't know how I feel about this. Trying to kill himself while he's pretending to save someone else. Like, I think it's perhaps like pretending to save someone else makes it sound like it's, and I think this is what you mean, is that the trying to kill yourself is the true intent, and the pretending to save someone else is just the fake illusory red herring that Aragi's throwing out to like hide his true desire for death, right? Which I don't think he's trying to do with Ougi, right? It's complicated, and it's tough, and it's complicated. That's what I was talking about earlier with like it being different from being willing to die for yourself is different categorically from like suicide, right? It's similar to that, because it is a quote lover suicide, but I mean that's even coming from Ougi, which is kind of an interesting like distinction, you know, right? Because I because and it's kind of and here we have like kind of the reply is kind of like fighting back against this a little bit as well, where it's like your Ougi, like Araragi is stubbornly holding on to a part of himself and not letting a part of himself die, right? He's willing to go down with the ship, but it's because he doesn't want to lose himself, which feels very like affirming of himself, which I think is very different than like suicide in like the standard use of the term. However, it is also like in terms of the consequences of these actions is a lover suicide, because he would rather fight for himself and lose than not fight for himself at all, and losing means death, right? So it kind of is, but I don't think it's like he's pretending to save himself, right? He's pretending to save Ougi, but in reality he's just trying to get himself killed. I don't think it's that. I think he's willing to kill himself while saving Ougi, right? It's not that it's a illusion as much as it's like a actual desire, right? Or it's not an illusion, but it's an actual thing he cares about, is what I've gotten out of this more than not, you know? And it's like part of the deal is you might be saying like he's trying to like this episode is obviously framed like a lot more positively, especially in like the later half, right? It's like a lot more happy. It's like, you know, he smiles when he looks at Ougi, even Ougi looks kind of like smiling, whatever. And so it kind of has like a more positive tint to it. And I think that's important because he literally just called out like an episode or two ago the whole like, you know, I make things look pleasant when they're actually like painful kind of deal. And so like if he called it out like verbatim that like if I were to tell this story I would make things look pleasant or whatever. And so like if he calls out his thing he's doing and then immediately does it again, then why'd you ever call it out? Like I feel like he's being more genuine because he's called out that in the past he's already called out his illusion. He said, this is a trick that I've been using. I've been making things look better than they actually are. I've been like trying to frame things in like a comedic way, even if they're actually not comedic. And so for him to immediately like put up a look, everything resolved happily, I kind of trust it because he's just called out that he does that, or that, you know what I mean? So I feel like he wouldn't immediately do it right after he called it out. But I guess you could also like say counter argument. No, wait, he called it out and then he did it again. El Bozo, right? Like, so I don't know. It's kind of a weird middle spot, but yeah. Let me just get into some like other part. I shouldn't realize he's not ready for this confrontation, and that Gon was perfectly willing to solve this solution with Aragi's death. That's another interesting thing that you like talk about later. So I'll talk about that later. Bum, 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 bum. The validation he saw from the unwanted mentor figure he despises and admires in equal measure, a good-natured loser on the fringes of society. The thing, like, which is the best thing Araragi could imagine himself becoming in Kyuzu. The unwanted mentor figure he despises and admires in equal measure. I don't know how much he despises Oshino. I'd have to rewatch Balke to see if I'm, like, how much of that I'm really getting. Like, a good-natured loser on the fringes of society. Where, like, kind of... I don't know. I haven't really thought of as Oshino as one that he despises. I think he does... How much does he admire Oshino? I don't know. I feel like that is just something that, like, Oh my goodness, my power just flickered again. Well, I know it's fine because last time this happened, this literally just happened, bro. What is going on with this recording? This is a cursed recording, man. I'm literally getting hoed. At least the Wi-Fi didn't turn off this time. I trust it's working, though, because okay. Trust. Wait, no, I'm gonna restart the recording just to be careful. Okay, I swear, if the power goes again while I'm watching the episode, I'm losing my mind, okay? Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, I forgot how the quote goes. So basically, bog. Anyways, let me just keep yapping. I don't remember where I was at all. Basically, dude, I swear, I'm the type of guy that literally my train of thought is everything. So when you know what I mean? My train of thought has crashed, and there are carts, and there are trolley problems, and there is explosions. Okay, anyways, this chair is gonna make me lose it. Okay, oh yeah, Oshino. Is he despised? I don't know. Continuing. This is interesting. This is an interesting question to me. This is no Tsubasa Tiger. There is no reintegration, no acceptance. All that happened is that he stopped averting his eyes for a moment. Such deep-seated issues couldn't hardly be resolved in such a manner. I agree and I disagree. It's definitely not a Tsubasa Tiger because there is no reintegration, right? Like, I feel like Hanakawa aced it in a way that Araragi is, like, still working on in some ways. I don't want to say there's no acceptance because, well, yeah, he doesn't kill Ougi. Like, he gets the chance to get rid of all the stuff that he, like, doesn't want to look at, right? If we're using the aversion eye stuff, like, he's given the on a silver platter the chance to get rid of it all, and he can't do it, you know. And so, like, he's forced into accepting Ougi because of the way that he works with saving other people. And so, like, I mean, I would just say that's the case, right? And the whole, like, self-affirmation of his justice, saying, like, I'm not wrong for this, I think it's so important as well that's like, I don't know if I would be able to categorize that as acceptance, right? Where he says, like, where he affirms himself in that way. But I think that is, like, a huge positive change for his character. That is something that ties all the way back to Bake, right? So, but I don't know if I might not call that acceptance as much as, like, something else. I guess you can maybe say, like, acceptance of not fearing change, but that's kind of weird. So yeah, and, like, all that happened is that he stopped averting his eyes for a moment. Like, I don't think that's an all that happened. I think that's, like, a massive deal, considering that, like, this entire, like, he's been doing this for so long. Like, he's been forgetting Ougi, avoiding things. I mean, Sodachi, the 50 hints, right? Like, this is a pattern behavior for him that's, like, so extreme and, like, so called out in so many moments that for him to, like, very explicitly not do it, I think is important and is another, like, big thing for his character. So, like, I wouldn't want to say that there's, like, no progress made, because that's kind of the sentiment I'm reading here, that, like, there's these deep-seated issues that aren't really getting resolved. And resolved is a strong word, like, but I think he's taken a step on the path he needs to take. I think he's taken either a really big step or a good few steps, right? Like, he started going down a path in a way that I don't think he has really before, you know? Kind of calling back to, like, all the road metaphors and stuff. So I wouldn't want to, like, lessen the impact of this conclusion, right? I think it was a big deal. But I also think I can also accept that it's not resolved, because you don't just resolve something in one session, you know? But I think it's a very, like, large step that I wouldn't want to hoe. But yeah. Ougi isn't as conveniently clear-cut as the tiger being a manifestation for all negative emotion. Bro, wait, there's something in my throat. She's everything Araragi doesn't want to see about himself, and because he hates himself, this includes virtues as well. How do you put something into a container that's the same size? No matter how much I change, I'll always be myself. Can be taken in many ways. They're not and they're not necessarily positive. Owarimonogatari is the end story because that's where we wanted it to end. Now what? So yeah, a couple of ideas here. This includes virtues as well. I mean, perhaps there are some virtues. I mean, it depends, like, virtues by what standard, right? Like, if he considers it a virtue, then why wouldn't he want to see himself as virtuous? Because if he doesn't want to see himself as virtuous, I guess you could say that maybe that comes from, like, some, like, very extreme level of, like, self-hatred that's, like, denying your own virtues. And so, like, I guess he could, like, see that as being something he gets rid of, right? But, like, I don't know, there's something kind of crazy to me about, like, about hating your own virtues, you know? Like, that almost feels like paradoxical, right? In a sense that if it is a virtue, how could you hate it? Because it's, like, by being a virtue, don't you have to view it as a positive thing? But yeah, so I guess I'd be curious if it's meant as virtues in their own sense, or like virtues that Araragi views them as virtues, but despite viewing them as virtues, he also has, like, a hatred towards them and whatnot. Or do you mean things that are positive that he views negatively, right? Like, by whose perspective is it a virtue would be my question there. No matter how much I change, I'll always find myself can be taken in many ways and they're not necessarily positive. That I do actually agree with. That if I will always be myself is a bad thing if you're not happy with yourself and you think that you'll always be yourself. That's like, that can be seen as, like, I'm always trapped, you know? That no matter how much I try to better myself, I'm always going to be stuck with who I am. And so if you view yourself with a very negative self-image, then that would feel entrapping. So I can see that as being as a potentially negative. And it is kind of a sense of, like, I'll always be myself is like, Ougi's always going to be Ougi type deal, right? Like all this, Ougi and all her sadistic tendencies or whatever is always going to be something within me that I have to deal with, right? So I guess I could see that as, like, a barrier to, like, I don't know, it's crazy because I almost just said a barrier to change, but the entire point is that you can change, right? And so, well, I guess you can change, but you can never change that you'll be yourself, right? As much as you change yourself, you'll always be yourself. So as much as you're free to grow, you're also bound by your nature of being you, which then depends on if you view your nature as being something like how restrictive is your nature. So I think this is a line of thinking that, like, has value and it, like, can be pretty pogged, like that being potentially negative and, like, it being potentially entrapping, though I think Araragi actually just dealing with it to some degree, right, like not averting his eyes is such a positive step that overall it's still, like, I'm happy to view this as a positive thing overall, if not conclusive, at least a step in the right direction, though I do think it is conclusive in some ways, like the whole, like, affirming your own justice, I think, is incredibly powerful, and that's literally a tie back to Bake, right? Like, I think that's a very beautiful full circle, you know? Araragi, like, and then Araragi didn't have any new revelations here. Ougi is him after all. I mean, I don't agree with this, because I think him saying, I am not wrong, is a revelation, right? It's a personal revelation. Like, saying that, like, because this is saying that, like, he didn't have any revelations by nature of the person he's interacting with is himself. And so it's saying, like, you can't have interacting with yourself isn't a vessel for revelation, which is something I would disagree with on an abstract level, like outside of the show. That I think you can have revelation if you're just cooking in your own brain, right? It reminds me of, freaking who said it? It was was it Aquinas? I don't remember the quote well enough. Now I feel like a fraud. Wait, trust. If the self were... who said it? Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. It was some saint. It was some saint that said it. Like, if the self were a perfect self, then there would be no introspection because there would already be, or like there'd be no delays, or like something about how, like, frick! I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm cutting this out. Okay, I can't find it. I might have made the quote up. Listen. There's a point here that I want to make. Okay? I don't remember how to make the point. I literally have no idea. I literally am control Fing in all these different documents about Aquinas. I think it was Aquinas that said it, okay? Something about, it's very similar to this point that he makes. I don't care about this tangent. This is important to me. It's very similar to this point he makes on the soul, and the soul being a body. So the point, the like structure of the argument is, the soul has knowledge of the body. If it were a spiritual thing, it would not have knowledge of corporeal things. But since it does have knowledge of corporeal things, it stands to reason that it is a corporeal thing, a body. So it's saying, like, by the nature of what it, of how it, wait, I need to phrase it in a way that I can apply it to my next point. By nature on how it acts, it exists as a certain way, right? That's basically it. So this is saying, by nature of how it acts, as not having corporeal things, then it is not a spiritual thing, which makes it a corporeal thing. By nature of having knowledge on corporeal things, it is a corporeal thing, right? That's the structure of the argument. The point, I could have sworn, the phrasing's so similar. It's this, it's if it were, the phrasing of if it were is very similar. And it's also very close to this Nietzsche thing, which is like about the self being a fractured thing, being a non-unified self. So the point I'm working up to, right? And this comes from Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I name dropped it earlier, and this is one of my favorite chapters, The Despisers of the Body. Great chapter. But it's this point about the self being like a multiplicity, right, as opposed to a singular thing. I think he says it like it's like a body. Yeah. An instrument of the body is also thy little saga city, my brother, which thou callest spirit, a little instrument and plaything of thy big saga city, right? I don't know this word. This is a weird translation, so it makes us read like the Bible, which is like an entire thing you can get into with that book, but I'm not going to worry about it now. The point being, the point I'm leading up to, that I could have sworn is an Aquinas quote, but I literally cannot find it. I literally went through it. I can't find it. It is something akin to, let's see if I can phrase it. But like, it's calling out some level of like hesitation or non-control over the mind as a way of saying that the mind is not unified, right? And so it's basically saying like that, like, you are not one unified self, one unified being, because there are things that happened in your mind that you do not have control over. So like an example would be like, you have anxiety, you do not have control over anxiety, right? Anxiety is a fully internal process. Therefore, you are not a unified being because you do not have control over a function of your own brain, right? A function internal to yourself, you do not have control over, therefore you are not a unified self. That's basically the argument structure, right? Which is to say, how this, you're like, what is this blood yapping about, man? How does this have to do with Monogatari? My point here is that as a non-unified self, because that's how I view the human being, there is potentiality to have new revelations within the self, because there is still unfigured out things inside of oneself, right? It's not a complete self, therefore there is room for revelation, right? That's my counter to that. Okay, my goodness gravy got. I literally spent like half an hour control F'ing through Aquinas things, putting quotes into Google. I can't find that quote, man. I'm literally gonna email my professor that I saw in that professor's class. I'm gonna have to email this guy. I haven't talked to him in like a year and a half, to just be like, I swear it was an Aquinas quote. Help me for the love of everything holy. Okay. So basically, Pog. You can decide which side is right. It's why Ougi can justify her cruelty. What he struggles with the Ougi formula, 100% right. History is varied by the victors. That's that applied ethics thing that I was mentioning previously. The right amount of people determines what's just. It's like a callback to the democracy thing, which I think is largely correct. In like what's so scary about history being written by the victors, which is kind of what's going on with like the ability to decide what is right post hoc, because then only who's left is going to decide they're right, because it's all self-affirming bias, right? Where it's like, I'm gonna whatever I want to be the case will be what I define as correct, as opposed to it being correct outside of my desire for it to be the case, right? And so Araragi gets caught up in that in a way that like Komburu doesn't, because she's just pogging her pants off. In a way that Ougi kind of takes advantage of and calls out in society. It's like something he judges in society. So I definitely agree with that being a thing, which is why it's so important that like he is deciding himself to be right, even if it's not necessarily, even if it's like counter majority or something like that. Even if he's self-affirming that in a way that he hasn't previously. Gone. I think this is. I actually like this. Gon is very invested in controlling the narrative in Araragi's head. I think that's true because of that's the way oddities work, right? And so in the same way that Araragi is important to Gon because Shinobu, like in the same way that Araragi is important in this town. So I think her being, and I think that is something that would make sense for her to care about, right? The way she presents information to him is, I think, important. In her trying to gain some sort of control, right, over the situation, because he does seem to have Araragi does seem to have like a bigger connection to the city. That's something we've talked about before. So yeah, I think that's fair. Consciously, this I was a little just from consciously admitting to Ogi's identity, he gained her and Shinobu's ability to manifest matter and recreated the entire cram school like Ougi created the first year classroom. So true that Ougi did that. Or yeah, I think that's fair. I think, and then Ogi's ability to manifest matter, I think, was even declared in the episode, and then, he recreated the entire cram school. I suppose well, I guess because there was the fire, right? And so I guess he didn't he? Or is it still destroyed up enough? I guess that's maybe where I'm not sure. Is it? Because it's kind of like there's a bunch of holes and stuff in the cram school, but it's not burnt down. So yeah, he must have kind of invigorated it. Because yeah, I mean, previously it was completely burnt down, wasn't it? So for it to even be here must have been something he manifested. Or Ougi manifested. But I guess, I mean, he's the one that was here first, so it would be him, right? So yeah, I actually haven't thought about that at all, which is a really interesting thing to bring up. Because I think it was completely, like, I'm trying to remember what it looked like after it burnt down. It was like gonzo, right? Like, it wasn't it like crumpled gone, you know? So yeah, that's an interesting kind of thing to me. This is ranking the darkness back in, saying that it's out of Araragi, right? Allowing him to be aware of his control of the darkness would be very dangerous, which is why it makes it out to be some objective metaphors shaped by the collective human consciousness. So you're saying like Gon's lying about it actually being this way. My thing with that is the darkness is really it's very strange to me. I think there is room, and I like this point. Note that the even bigger twist that Tsukiki brought up regarding the true identity won't always be correct seemingly didn't happen. I think there is room that there's more going on with the darkness than we know. I'm still apprehensive to just say that like it's fully manifested from Araragi. I am somewhat apprehensive about that. But I do think there is probably more to it. My kind of reasoning for that is it's like it's strange to me that it's this objective force that calls out like lying, right? It calls out like that kind of oddity pretending to be one thing but it's actually another. But it's strange to me that something that's more objective like that is contingent on a human being explicitly admitting it, right? Because with Araragi, on some level, he knows Ogi's identity all along, right? On some level. But it takes him literally admitting it verbally for the darkness to appear. Wherein, like, before that, like, before he's about to say, Ougi, you are me, he already has it in his skull. Like, it's already true to him that Ougi is him. He's already, like, agreed that that's the case after he was told it by Gon, but it takes him actually verbalizing it. So why is it the case that he needs to verbalize it for the darkness to appear, right? Because it makes it either something that he has direct control over, or something that like the nature of the darkness is that it needs to be explicitly like called upon by an agent. It needs to be explicitly viewed by an agent for it to manifest. So in either way, like both of those things are then based in either of those ideas is based in a subjective thing, right? It's based in the subjective individual, in this case Araragi, making a using their ability to perceive and then calling it out as non-true, and then the darkness comes into play. So it's just strange to me that an objective thing, it only appears through a subjective perception. Boom. That's kind of odd to me, right? Which makes me think that there could be room for, like Tsukiki was saying, an even bigger twist. For to say that it's fully like Araragi, I'm not like, I think it's an interesting play. That like I don't know, I need to rewatch what she was saying in Oni, I guess. I'm apprehensive, partially because like it originated back with Shinobu, right, in the Kishot era. So like it would be the idea that the darkness isn't from Araragi, but rather this darkness is, because the first darkness with Kishot wouldn't have been Araragi, of course, because that was Kishot, right? So it would have been like, I think the way that the idea went was like Kishot had it, then that's where Araragi got the idea, and then through the ability to manifested it to do things, right? Almost as like a thing of judgment. But what makes me apprehensive is like largely I think was it Ononoki who literally said like, yeah, Ogi's actually not the darkness, which makes you think of like, oh, I thought that's because Ogi's. It's weird. Like Ougi, like why would Araragi need to make the darkness if Araragi's made Ougi, which fulfills a point similar to the darkness but isn't the darkness, right? Like that's kind of how Ougi was described both by me and I think by the show. I think the show said that pretty specifically, that Ougi was like similar to but different from, like served a similar role, I think is how they put it. And so in that case, like if Araragi, why would Araragi have to make this Ougi to do that job if that thing already existed? You know what I mean? So like I guess in that way I'm somewhat apprehensive, and then Ononoki kind of pretty much being like, like it wasn't actually that. I foreshadowed this to be the darkness, but then it actually wasn't. To then move it from Ougi, from like, oh, it's not that Ougi is the darkness, but it's rather that Araragi is the darkness, you know, like that's kind of at that point it's like the same difference a little bit. So I'm not sure if that's where the twist is leading. However, I do think that there could be another level to the darkness that we haven't seen yet, or even if like, or just like extra, like, I mean, like the whole idea of the collective human unconsciousness coming together to make a rule set on oddities is kind of crazy to me, because I almost feel like that would necessitate knowing that oddities exist, which is something that most humans don't know, right? It's just kind of like myth, you know? So I don't know. It's like a level of specificness that I'm not sure I'd be like how I feel about connecting that to the human unconscious from everyone, because it seems so specific to how oddities function that like most people shouldn't know that. But I don't know. It's a vague spot for me. The darkness is a very vague spot to me, right? I'm not confident enough to say like, oh, it simply is the collective human unconsciousness. Let me just take it at Gon's word. But I'm also not confident enough to say, oh, it's just Araragi's manifestation. I feel like there's something. There might even be a third thing going on, but I don't even know what I would say. Or maybe it's one of the two, you know, or like especially just what Gon said, like shrimple as, like I could take that to be the case, kind of simply as, especially because we got like the whole hell thing going on, which we kind of talked about that at the time. That's kind of besides the point. So that's something there. Ougi is this image of Sashiro, a better version of himself that kills monsters, including himself. I don't know how I feel about this either, because it's like I feel like it's counterintuitive to the idea of Ougi being all the things he hates about himself, right? Because isn't that like, oh my goodness, there's so many words. Where is it? Or she's everything Araragi doesn't want to see about himself, and because he hates himself, this includes virtues as well. Everything Araragi doesn't want to see about himself. Yeah, because that is different than like all negative. Though, like, why would you not want to see a positive thing? Is, well, because you don't think you'd like deserve it. I mean, that's an entire thing. But everything Araragi doesn't want to see about himself being a better version of himself that kills monsters, including himself, that almost feels like those ideas clash to me somewhat. However, I do think that Ougi is somewhat comparable to Seishiro, just in that ends what needs to be ended, does the judgments that Araragi isn't capable of carrying out on his own. That makes sense to me, because that's the Ougi pushing people into traffic idea has been one of my favorite little memes, right? And so that being like, oh, Ougi does what Araragi can't, that Araragi isn't willing to do because he's so, I mean, it'd almost be the thing of like, he is so insecure about like carrying out his justice and his judgments because of the way he is and how like weak he is, his phrasing of himself is weak, that then Ougi comes through and does it in a way that Araragi doesn't feel he can, you know? So that's been something with the Araragi justice all along. So that kind of works. Better version of himself is where I don't like phrasing Ougi as Araragi, thinking that Ougi is a better version of Araragi. I guess better perhaps in a judge, but not, I don't know if, I think that's just perhaps, I think a better in certain ways, but I wouldn't want to say better period, because that would be too one note for Araragi's, like, the multifaceted being that is Araragi Koyomi, you know? So yeah. Shinobu. Freshly inspired by... Wait, okay, sorry. I just gotta reread this because I don't remember the things. The power flickering and me trying to find that Aquinas quote really threw off my train of thought. I'm not gonna lie. I swear it's a real quote. I really do. And if yourself is the one who you hate the most, what could be a bigger monster than a better version of yourself? Like that kind of idea, where it's like, how could it, like, if you hate yourself, and then a better version of yourself is a bigger monster, then you would hate that more, which would mean it's a worse version of yourself. That's where I'm stuck. That's where I'm stuck with that kind of idea there. Note that since the time travel, blah blah blah. The visuals of the darkness being a visual metaphor for the birthing of the dark, or the visual for the inverted sky being a idea of towards that being like the manifestation of darkness, I think could be really sick. But my apprehensions still hold. I like this. This I actually like pretty straight up as an idea. Because one of the big questions for me has been, why is Araragi important to the town? The idea that Araragi is important because he's connected through Shinobu to the energy nexus, kind of through Seishiro, the energy nexus of the shrine. That at least is an answer. Because I feel like that's an answer I haven't been able to find up to this point of like, he is important because he's connected through Shinobu to Seishiro, which is connected to the energy nexus of the town where all the spirits connect. And so that's an answer to that question that I like. That seems like stable enough for me. So I like that straight up because that gives reason for that thing. Because that's the thing, like all along I've been saying like he's important to the town. Like that I think is just the case, right? With like the shogi metaphor comes to mind. And so, but this is like reasoning for that. So I like that. His issues are not just something for him to stew in, they have real effects on other people in the environment, and if he's concerned about other people as he claims, he needs to take care of himself to protect them from himself. Yeah, I mean, Ougi's making problems happen, right? Like, that needs to be dealt with. This is an interesting idea. Gon didn't divine the info about Ougi's creation, she knows because she orchestrated it. Kanbaru was only there at her request, and Araragi questioned why they were even meeting at the cram school, where Seishiro promptly shows up and fights Kanbaru. Gon sets up the conditions for him to concretize the darkness and takes himself out with it like a snake eating its own tail. So the thing for me, like, this implies that Gon wants Araragi to be killed, which doesn't feel that feels very, very possible, given that she already did kill him, though that wasn't to actually kill him, that was to take the vampirism out of him, so that doesn't work. But that does feel somewhat possible to me, that she's trying to get him to Ouroboros himself in that way. Because if Ougi, because this is the idea, right? If Ougi's the problem for the town, which she wants to get rid of Ougi, right? That one we can, I think, all agree on. Then the source of Ougi would also perhaps be a threat, because you get rid of Ougi, that doesn't necessarily mean that another Ougi won't spawn, right? Like, it's treating the symptom, not the condition. Ougi being the symptom, Araragi being the condition. So for Gon on some level to be like, I want to get rid of them both, I think could make sense. Honestly, what I would need to do is rewatch the segments that Gon's trying to convince Araragi to, like, take out Ougi, and probably some of the earlier Gon yaps, just to try to get a read on, like, how much she actually wants that to happen versus how much she's trying to, like, cause the events to take place as they were, you know? However, it's also kind of crazy to me to think of it like she wants that to happen, because I almost feel like Gon should know well enough by this point that Araragi won't let someone die, right? Which is exactly the thing that is done through Gon, where he doesn't let Gon die, which means he doesn't let himself die, even if it means killing himself, blah, blah, blah. So, in that way, I feel like if Gon wanted it, well, that almost even leans towards, like, the idea that, oh my goodness, I'm getting caught up in my brain. Give me a new thing. Give me something new. Get me out of there. I'm like losing it. Okay. I think this first part's true. Let's go to this. Gon didn't divine the info about Ougi's creation. She knows because she orchestrated it. I don't know. I don't know. That is such a big thing to throw out. If anything, I want to give that to Oshino, bro. If anything, I want to give that to Oshino, because Oshino seems to be the guy that knew Araragi so well at the start and saw that Araragi and his, like, lack of self-love for the issues they were, and then I think that's why he interacted with Araragi the way he did, which then obviously came to a head in the last episode. So perhaps you could say that, like, Oshino knew something was going to become a problem, in the same way that I think he said, like, depending on how the situation pans out. I don't remember his phrasing, but he said, like, depending on how Araragi deals with Shinobu or something, like, this could get worse. I think he was saying to, like, Tadatsuru, or I don't remember who he said it to. I think it was Sadatsu. But to then give that to Gon and say that like perhaps there was like some level of like communication between them, that those ideas for Araragi got passed to Gon, and then Gon, you know, orchestrated things in some way to like formalize it. I mean, maybe, like I don't know. It's a maybe to me. To say that she orchestrated it is kind of strong. Perhaps like I would just need to. That's my issue. It goes into the Konbaru stuff, which goes into the Konbaru like family legacy, which is stuff that I'm not at all confident in. So I have trouble using it to make big points on like Gon's maneuvers there, cause yeah. But I think there's perhaps something there. I don't know. So overall, some things I say yes, some things I say interesting, some things I say no. That's about where I'm at with that. Gwe. My goodness gravy. This has been the most cursed recording I've ever done, bro. The powers flickered twice. I got caught up trying to find this quote that I know is real, and I just cannot find for the love of goodness gravy God. It's been I don't know how it's been. I've been recording, I think, for 2 hours. But I don't know how long the video is going to be, because like a bunch of it's just me being quiet. I almost just want, I don't even know if I'm ready to watch Zoku, because I feel like I got to talk about this so much more, because there's other points I want to bring up. I'm going to cry. This show is so much. Okay. I love it, though. It's just so much work, which I love it. I love that there's so much to work with. It just means that, like, this is part of the reason I just let this episode soak for so long. I let it soak for 8 days, right? And I didn't want to jump into Zoku yet, because I was like, I just want to, like, just simmer with this hoe for a little bit. And I'm glad I did. My goodness gravy. Let's keep going. I'm ready. I'm cooking. There was something I really liked. I liked what Araragi was saying here. This was cooking. There's one point very specifically that's very important to me. I've heard nobody mention this. I'm going to mention it, because this is, I think, incredibly important that people are overlooking. Ougi heals Araragi's wound. Ougi, the sadistic, self-criticizing monstrosity that judges Araragi for everything, goes out of her way to heal Araragi, right? Not saving myself, the one everyone saved. I can't allow such a thing to happen. And then she, like, makes a move of, like, it almost feels like she accepts him or she saves him in some degree too. That's like, we're gonna go down, and I like, let's see what she says here. What does she say here? She's gonna say Gwe. Okay. Yeah, like we kind of like see it as like a moment of connection between the two of them, right? Like we're now bound into a lover's suicide. Like that's like her. I feel like he's showing affection towards Ougi, saying, I'm willing to save you, even if it means risking my life in the darkness yet again, right? And then she replies by giving affection back and healing him and accepting that that he's willing to save her like this, which is then it's a lover's suicide. Like, I accept that you're willing to go down with me. It's a lover's suicide, not just that you love me and are willing to die for me, but I'm also willing to die here with you. So, like, it's this crazy thing where I think they both accept each other, in a sense, right? As lovers, right? As you know. It's just because her healing him is, I think, so... Because it's literally, like, counter to how she functions previously, right? Where she's always antagonizing him, making fun of him, causing him pain, causing him suffering, kind of being sadistic, whatnot. But she and it's wordless, right? She doesn't say anything about it. And then he says, you're like a baby. That's crazy, Araragi. Babies should be protected like this. You know what I mean? So, and for a being that is so critical of Araragi, it's a moment where she doesn't criticize him at all. If anything, she says this is the right thing to do. You know? Because she affirms it by healing him. And then he says, I'm not wrong. So good. Good line, Araragi. And then he says, right, just like you aren't wrong. I feel like this right, where his like pupil like focuses in a bit more, that I think is like, bro, that's like the relief of finally saying it. He's like, I'm not wrong. And then it's like that I think him verbalizing it gives him the confidence to keep going, and that's what that focus is. Which I love. Just like you aren't wrong. And she don't got anything bad to say, right? She just kind of I think she affectionately calls him a fool there, right? Which is kind of like, it lacks that bite. It lacks the bite of Ougi. Because earlier, a minute ago, she was biting, right? She's saying, like how could you do this? That's how you are. You throw your life away, blah, blah, blah. You'd even save someone like me. This part is so good, man. I love this episode. You are wrong after all. You're wrong as a person. Like, this compared to her healing him. Yeah, I didn't save someone else. So as soon as he makes it about himself and gives this reason for it, about it being everyone else, like, provoked me to do this, them loving me, them wanting to save me, then I think this is a moment where them two agree. And so she heals him, gives affection back, and then it becomes a lover's suicide, where they're on the same side, right? Which is just so incredible to me, because it's always been they're so divided as individuals, because even as one individual, they're very divided. That's like why they're multiple beings. But in this moment, the two selves find common ground, and she starts making little jokes, and the most she does to counter this is call him a fool, which is almost affectionate. So, I don't know. I think that's so important to show the level of, like, I would say, like, a moment of unity between them that, like, was previously completely non-existent, right? Dude, I don't even know where else I want to go. I've just had this one stewing in my brain. There's like a million things to talk about. To the point that it's like paralysis, bro. It's literally like paralysis, right? Oh yeah, this. Does she call him? Oh yeah, you decide to be. Oh no, this is gone. Let me see if Shinobu does call him Koyomi. Wait, is his full name Koyomin? And I just call him Koyomi? Araragi Koyomi. Oh, that's kind of crazy. Did I know that? I don't think I knew that. It's such a beautiful shot. I love this shot of her giant dress. My master, now that its vampiric nature has been successfully removed. Yeah. And man, it's crazy. Like, even they return here. It's like they return to all these things that Araragi had so much regret for, right? He was, or like regret and like confusion. He was confused, regret, not sure how to feel about him saving, about him saving Kiss Shot. Confusion, regret about Senjugahara. Confusion, regret about all these things that was outlined in the beginning with like the slices of the cake or the pie or whatever. But then he goes back and he says, yes, I'm doing it again, but this time I'm sure of it, right? That's how it feels to me. So he does it with Ougi. He says, yes, I accept you. Yes, I go down with the ship, whatever. And he does it again here with Kiss Shot, where it's like, yeah, we're doing this bond again, one that I've doubted so much, but through doing it and thinking it's the right thing to do, like, it will be the same, but it'll be so different because I won't have all that doubt. Like, I'll have that affirmation to stand on. Something like that. Facts. We need to get you your Mr. Donut. Aw, I love this line. It's like saying their oath again to each other, man. It's so good. I need to see the oath side by side. Because this is different, right? Her saying, I'll tell a tale about you to someone. That's different, right? Ooh. I gotta watch the end of Kizu again. And the wings as like a big hug for the metamorphosis to happen within. Like a freaking butterfly, bro. Gota Kana. Hanagoda. Hanagoda. But yeah. I kind of want to just jump into Zoku. I know that's kind of crazy, because I just want to watch new content, man. My ideas for Zoku, what is this? It could have to do with this girl. This random new oddity that's walked into the picture. Otherwise, I don't freaking know, bro. There's like a million things they could do. I don't even know if it's Araragi as the narrator. You know? It could be... There's like a million characters, bro. I don't know. Nadeko could be I don't know. I say Nadeko because Nadeko's in the art. I saw like a one shot of the off season, the next adaptation's like art face, and it was like I saw Nadeko in there, and I was like, why is Nadeko there? So that's why I'm throwing out Nadeko. I don't forget it. It could be so many characters. It's like a bajillion of these hoes. Give me that Ougi scene one more time. Give me that Ougi scene one more time. Dang, Ougi, why are you looking at me like that? It's scary. It's still a little bit scary. It's like, I think it's such a good step, but I'm still a little bit scared. Okay. Zoku. Do we just want to watch this hoe? Man, this episode's about to be so freaking long. Like, not the episode of Zoku, not like that in a bad way, but the episode of this reaction is about to be so freaking long. My goodness gravy god. Okay, let's watch it. Let's just watch it, man. Okay, it's ready. Whew. Zoku freaking Godari. What is going on, man? I got no freaking clue. Let me silence my phone. All right, silence your phone. Get yourself a... Is that an ant? There's an ant. Karen, get out of here, dude. Wait, she's not an ant. She's a bee. Why did I think Karen was an ant? I don't know, bro. Give me a sip of the drink. Okay, just get some caffeine up in my hoe. This has been one of the most cursed recordings I've ever done, but you know what? That just seems about right with this show. Ougi's in my walls. Ougi's in my walls. Zoku Owarimonogatari. What the heck's about to happen? 24 minutes. Is there gonna be a new OP? I don't know. But let's just go like, yeah, let's get into it. In. A 3, a 2, a 1. Bang! Oh my goodness, restart. There's no subtitles. I need them hoes, bro. I don't speak your language. 3, 2, 1, bang. Like, please! Okay. Surely, dude. Surely. Ooh, books. Books falling. I like that. Continuation of the end. Oh, yeah. What is that? Oh, that's Shinobu. Yeah. Oh, is it gonna be like the books? All the different book covers? Yeah. Arikawa! Oh, this is so sick. I love this. HACHIKUJI! What are these pieces of art? Are these like the covers? Sodachi reference. Ougi. The mastermind gone. The doll user, Tadatsuru. Oshi no Ougi. Ah, a bonus. Okay, Araragi. Okay. Oh, Hitagi Rendezvous. Yeah, it's like all the different arcs. People learn more from defeat than from victory, after all. Oh, we gotta learn from defeats. What's the defeat, Araragi? Ooh! Kanbaru, maybe? Kanbaru arc? I saw a little monkey there. The continuation of the dream? Is that Araragi? I think that's Araragi singing. Wait, is Araragi singing? Damn, bro. Lost to yesterday? Oh, don't do it in reverse. I can't read that. They mirrored the text, bro. Dude, Araragi looks like a freaking, like, protagonist of some edgy anime right now. What is this, bro? The looking away. Ooh, okay. Araragi, where are we biking to? What's next on the plate, man? I don't know. Dude, this is about to be crazy. I'm not ready. Your possibilities? My possibilities. Koyomi reverse. So is it like we're worried about the future? What we're gonna do in the future now that we've graduated? Like, what do I even do next? What do I even do next? Ooh. Did they already go to school or something? Damn. Oh no, it's the day after, so they wouldn't go back to school probably yet. Now what? It's a now what arc, bro. It's a now what arc. I don't have to study. Yeah, what am I? Whose hand is that? Is that Kambaru? Wow. Sudachi! Are you so he doesn't say that he's going to the Senjugahara place. He's not confident about that. Ougi. Right. But now you have no title? Right? You're titleless? Ooh, callback to Shinobu with the helmet. Okay, you're non-defined. Oh, because you applied, but you haven't gotten the announcement yet. Okay, heard. So you're in a weird limbo. You're in a limbo period where you could be going to all sorts of different places. Hachikuji is God! No one but myself, the purest version of myself. Impure because you have titles? That's interesting. I would want to talk to you about that, Araragi. Because you're not Araragi the student, you're just Araragi. And so being Araragi the student is less pure than being Araragi the Araragi? Because there's no external thing, I guess? Okay. Sure. You love saying that. He loves saying, in a few days it'll be different. In the future I'll look back on this differently. Yeah? Who are you doing that for? Yeah, exactly. GTA, stars going up. 5 stars. Oh no, it's a bath episode. No, okay, trust. I'm playing. Bro looks weird in this suit. In this clothes. You look weird! You look weird, bro! He is in that half state though, right? Of vampirism, so he's still got his reflection and everything. Kind of fun. Just, I don't know. Him looking in a mirror is interesting. Oh, why is it looking? Why is it not moving? What was it called? Koyomi reverse? Stuck in time? That moment of you is stuck there? What is going on, dude? The drowning metaphor? Wait. Oh, the mirror is a water surface. Like that Kambaru episode, remember? Where you looked down in the water and the reflection of yourself, but you thought it was someone else. That whole thing because of the rippling of the water. It's like that again, man. It's not Koyomi reverse, it's Koyomi reflection. Trust. Where are we? Are we in the mirror world? What does this mean? Was it a dream? No, wait. What is going on? It's hot. It's hot water. Oh, it's flipped. It's reverse. Oh, it's reverse because it's the reverse of the reflection. That's why he picked the wrong one, right? Because he would have twisted it the right way, but since he's in a mirror, it's flipped, so it went hot instead of cold. I think that's what's happening. Who? Is she gonna look like a phoenix? No. What's happening? Is she normal? Oh, she's just naked. Oh, you can't hear her because she's in reverse. That's why the OP was being weird. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? It's because you're... Dude, can you put some clothes on, please? I guess you want the towel. You're welcome. Stop staring, dude. Why do I have to give them to you? Your braid's on the wrong side. Your egg's on the wrong side. If it weren't Karen Chan, who in the world would I be? Sonia Chan, what's your plan for today? Sorry, the bottom text is like flip. I don't know. It's freaking me out. So why reflections, though? Reflection of the past has to do with the future, maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Fire Sisters disbandment party? No. They're actually doing it. No, you're right. You're in the mirror world right now. Or like seeing things as if, seeing the world as if mirrored. Okay. What? Okay. Ononoki or Tsukihi? Oh, she sounds normal. Is it because she's an oddity? What is going on? Are we in like the realm of the oddity or something? I don't know. Don't kiss her. Well, you're so weird. It's just as weird how he did that. It's just like, my guy. It's like, my lord. Okay. He's like going all up and like, gee. I tend to sweat a lot. No, she's wearing it the right way. Your perception is what's wrong. That's probably... Okay, is it about his perception being flawed? Like, my perception is not one-on-one with reality? Good line in a different context. Whatever, I'll be taking it off anyways. That's a good line in a different context. Okay, Ononoki? Oh, why are we freaking out? What? Weird! Why are you like Kage Nuid? Stop cosplaying. Huh? Was he? Yeah, I mean, I guess, but he was dead. Or was he a doll, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it was a doll in hell. Probably not, but... Okay, the rules were different in hell. Why are you acting like this? Like, I'm gonna throw up. This is so strange. This is so weird. I had a bit of trouble understanding how that last scene was meant to lead into Owarimonogatari. Shut up! That's what I'm saying. Get me out of here. I don't understand. Stop I don't know how it pieces into... Okay. Why isn't Shinobu responding? Maybe it's because he's in the mirror world. So this is a different shadow of his that doesn't have her in it. I don't know. Oh yeah, we didn't even get anything we don't even know what happened with the oddity girl. This music is freaking me out. That's literally a shot they took from the last episode, right? This music is freaking me out, my goodness. Stop looking at power poles. Yeah, HACHIKUJI. Is that flipped? Was the side always on that side? Wait, maybe the world isn't... to what degree is the world flipped? I'm kind of... I feel like he should notice by now. Oh, everything's so symmetrical. I can't tell. The snake looked correct. Maybe the world isn't flipped. What are you about to do? He's about to do something weird. It's true. He did do this. What's your idea that's so original here? Oh, it's just a coin. I was about to say, bro, what is bro unzipping? That's not on me. That's crazy. Oh, I'm gonna do something original. You know, pulls out his... Okay. My goodness. HACHIKUJI! You didn't bow, bow, clap, bow, bow, clap, bow, bow, clap. I don't remember the order she said. Why does she look like this? What is happening? This is such a weird episode. Why are all the oddities different? Other than, like, Tsukihi, I guess. Tsukihi's very similar. Is this... Okay, is it because you're a god or because we're in the mirror world? HACHIKUJI, what is happening? We're, like, inverting it. We're inverting the relationship. Usually it's the other way. It's the other way. We're flipping it. We're reversing it. Oh, we're not inverting. We're reversing. I get it now. Yeah, he bit her instead. That's crazy. That's crazy. Araragi can't... What is happening, eh? Them parallels be crazy. So, how it's a flippy flip? This feels wrong. This feels wrong. Yeah, that's HACHIKUJI. Imposter Kuji. 21-year-old is not a cougar. Yeah, come on. What are you yapping about, dog? Yeah, reminds me of this HACHIKUJI for sure. This feels wrong. Yeah, Kafun? What is a Kafun? You mean Audavasawadi. You gotta mess up Araragi. That's the bit. You're messing up our bit. Let me at least have the bit. Like you... And you aged 11 years? I'm so confused. What is going on? You're... What? It has changed. Ononoki and HACHIKUJI have dramatically changed. Now she's the one, like, harassing you, dude. They're all reversed. And she's... And Ononoki's excitable, or, like, expressive. That's her reverse. They're all reversed. But Tsukihi's, like, the same. Oh, it's all... Even that text is reversed. I can't read that shit. Oh, my goodness. When was that? Okay, 15 minutes. Oh, I didn't even notice her becoming short. I didn't even notice Karen becoming short. Good point. Good point. Oh, she's non-diligent as opposed to being diligent. Okay, I get it. Yeah. They're all, like, flipping on their axis. Why? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm with you, but reversal. It's gotta have to do with thinking about the past and the future being a reversement of the past. Something like that, right? That's my guess. It's horseshoe theory, dog. The opposites are a lot more similar than you would think. That's my take on the matter there. No, that's weird. Is she maybe so middle of the line that her personality is so in the middle that it reversing has no impact? You did fall into a mirror. Him being in the mirror would also be like an abstraction. It'd be like him separated a little bit, like from reality. Yeah, you're in the mirror. Good point. That's cool. I didn't even think about it that way. Your perception has, because you're now inside the mirror, so you're seeing things reversed. This is your location. Yeah. Man, there's an entire another side. What does this mean, dude? Oh, is he in the... He's in his school outfit in there. Okay, so he sees growing up as hitting a mirror point? Okay, thanks for admitting it this time, dog. I appreciate that. Usually you would not admit that. Bruh. Bro, what is going... Okay. Am I? Well, that implies that he desires to do that, which isn't necessarily the case. Yeah. What's the difference from the reverse in the non-reverse worlds, right? What's even the difference? The Hachikuji vote of confidence is sweet, I guess. It's just weird. It's just strange. When did you know about that? I don't remember her getting that information. I guess she might have. It's not going to work again. You have to do something with him. No, because we're not... Hachikuji, we have to go into a mirror again. It's a mirror situation, not a time situation. Yeah, exactly. That's interesting. Yeah. Because this is a reflection. The reflection doesn't have to have a reality that makes sense because it's simply a reflection. It's based on something else, right? Like it doesn't need to. It's the structure. It doesn't need its own. The foundation is the real world, so you don't need your own foundation. So you can be kind of paradoxical. Okay, why do you know that? That's strange to me. Okay, so you're just a living paradox. What is going on? Yet I don't find it odd. Okay. Like optical illusion type? It's like an optical illusion. Kinda. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, okay. So it is based in that moment in time. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So the information previous, so it was like normal and then we split. Not that it was always, there was always a split, but it was normal and then it split. Is that what you're saying? Should be a boy. Yeah, there'd be more than just her size. So like why are only certain things why are things being reversed and why is it that way for each character? Because it's specific traits per characters, right? We're getting all sorts of other things, right? Or like all sorts of things. Like Tsuki's just getting mirrored, Karen's getting a size change. Ononoki has a personality change. Shinobu has an existence change. Hachikuji has an age change. Well, it's not... Is it his world? Because there is a different him in his reflection. Okay, well, how do I talk to her, dude? Hachikuji! That's what I'm saying. Oh, she's a Deus Ex Machina character. Okay. You know what? Based. I like that, Hachikuji. She's calling out the writing. Just like Adaraki was earlier. Well, but she's not, right? Because there's still an Adaraki in his reflection that was in the other outfit. The only neat thing to do. Oh, okay. I haven't read it either. The moon is a harsh mistress and do androids dream of electric sheep? I've heard of that one. Have I read that one? I might have actually read that one. I don't remember. I have to read like a summary to remember if I have. The thing though is there's another Adaragi over there, bro. And Ougi. Where's Ougi? Right. We have no way to contact them. Well, why did the gate open is a good question, right? Base. Yeah. It's weird that he's a cop. I feel like that's interesting. Take a quick little nap. Little bath nap. The water in there. I literally referenced this. I literally referenced this bath like 10 minutes ago. Oh yeah, that's so good. Oh, we're there, bro. Yes. I don't know why we're talking about that, but yes. Well, okay, so the point of... Oh my goodness, what a good call. What a good call. Why are we saying Shinobu's line here? I'd follow you. Or the oath at the end of Kyuzu they're saying right here. Oh wait, what should we eat tonight? I don't care. I'm both kunky. Kombaru's house. So the point there was like looking in the reflection, made you see what you wanted, and then you like, well, what was it that you saw in the reflection? Dang it, I gotta rewatch Koyomi now, that Koyomi bath episode, because it must have been, wasn't it? Wasn't it that like you're looking at the reflection, and you're seeing something that's distorted by the water, and then that's who you think you'll fall in love with, right? But yeah. So it's not necessarily... Oh, but you're extrapolating on the... You're like looking at the fuzziness and extrapolating what you want out of it, right? Because it's like, wait, Hanakawa's gonna be crazy. Look at Hanakawa there. She's gonna be crazy. Oh my goodness. Imagine if we get to see all the characters reversed. Hanakawa, the balancer, the specialists, who else? I almost just said Numachi. Kombaru. I mean, Numachi's not going to be there, but Numachi, Sodachi, who else? So many characters to reverse. Shinobu, but she's not here, so we can't see her. Because it's like, so in that case, it's like the ripples of the mirror, or the ripples of the water in Kombaru's house distorted the image, and then from that distorted image, you saw that which you desired to see, which was... Wasn't it based off of... It was like the idea that it was vague, and so you like your pattern recognizing brain saw what you wanted to see, which was the person you'd fall in love with, and so you were like already looking for that, and so like your own bias like adjusted the perspective. So in that way, who is that? Is that Son Goku, bro? These characters are gonna be crazy. Oh yeah, Nadeko. So in that way, he looked in the mirror, and then... Is he like now playing with like an alternate, or like playing like with an alter route, where it's like, what if things were different? That's so vague though. What do I do with that? Right? Like, what if I didn't? Well, it's interesting. It's so interesting to me that he's in his school outfit here, in the flip. There was a shot of them standing over the water, where we got to see both of them. Was it before the... Oh, 15. Let me go to 15 so I can read all this stuff reverse real quick to see if there's anything important. It was like right here? Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. I want to go on my Bream vacation to Hawaii. Dream. I want to go on my dream vacation to Hawaii. Something... Oh my goodness. Frick. That one's so hard to read. This bottom one's so hard to read. They're all in like different fonts too, bro. We made a movie. I want friends. We made a movie. I want to go to my dream vacation to Hawaii. Praying for a healthy baby. Praying for a healthy baby. And then this super long one. Let me win 700 million yen in the lottery so that I can it's Q. Wait, no, it's not a Q. QP. per pun purchase then it's stupid. Who cares? It's just I want money because I want to buy things. Okay, done. My goodness gravy. One interesting thing to note is certain things don't get reflected, right? Like W's don't get reflected, A's don't get reflected, I's don't get reflected, T's don't get reflected, etc. Right? Tsukihi didn't get reflected, you know? So I like even in the way that words get reflected, it makes sense that some things don't reflect because they're the same on both sides, which seems to be the case with Tsukihi. So it makes sense that some things wouldn't reflect. We're with you there. Karen being short, yeah, it's funny. I didn't even realize how much shorter she was. I kind of thought it was Tsukihi for some reason in the first... I might have even said that. I flipped them for some reason. You know what would be really funny? Don't they... They wear their egg pins on opposite sides. I might have flipped them because they wear their egg pins flipped. And so it confused me because I was doing it off the egg pin. That would actually be crazy. Oh, and that's why we did the height chart, where she's supposed to be taller than him. I see. So it's crazy that she wasn't, right? Yeah, but that shot of Araragi in the reflection... Where was that? Where they were both standing there. I think it's like right here. Why would we... The question is, why did we get reversed? What does reversing mean? Because, like, I think it's... Because it's like where... I don't know who I am. I'm in this state of ambiguity. So is that, like, since I'm in a state of ambiguity... I'm reversing everything to look at things from an alter perspective. So it's like, now that I'm no longer, my road isn't clear, my status as a student isn't clear, because of that lack of clarity, call back to the Converdu bath, because remember the ripples were where it wasn't clear. So because of the lack of clarity in my future, that's the ripples as I look into the future, which then makes me see what I want to see, ? Or see something that's like self-fulfilling in some nature. The reason I need to rewatch Koyomi Bath. Maybe I'll do that next time, right? And so, because then the question is, if it's like I see what I want to see in the state of ambiguity for the future, then all the changes would be things that he wants to have changed. He would want Ononoki to be more expressive. He would want Hachikuji to be older. He would want all these things, which I don't necessarily I'm not confident on that necessarily, but that could be an idea. That's an attempted interpretation. Right. This feels so wrong to me. I'm not even, like, this doesn't even feel like Hachikuji, bro. Oh, no, but in this reflection, he was normal. They did a shot of him reflected where he was normal just there. Wait, where's the shot where they are reflected, but they're different? Where was that, man? That is such an important shot. Like right here? Right here. Oh, she's still the same. Wait. Oh, no, he's not in his... I thought he was... Okay, no, I'm wrong. I thought he was in his Naiatsu High uniform because it was all black. The coloring, right? Okay, no, I get it now. I get it. The reflections in... Because I thought the reflections in this world were direct ties to the reality of the other world, of the real world. No. And I thought it was the case that he was in his reflection, was in his Naiotsu High uniform, which then would be something about how, like... That's the real world. He still feels like his state isn't the real world. The state of ambiguity isn't real or something. But no. This is just darker because it's darker, because it's a darker image. Okay. Now, yeah. We're fixed on that. And then, of course, Hachikuji's still in her 21-year-old form there, instead of being 10 years old, which would have been the idea. So, no. We're clear on that. The reflections in this world are not the truth of the real world. They're just reflections. Why are we locked away here? It's so weird. Ononoki is freaking me out, man. Because my tendency is to say this isn't real, right? Because otherwise you're saying that, like, this is Ononoki on some level. But it's like, if you're flipping someone's entire personality into being, like, Kage Nui type, like, what are we even doing at that point? You know what I'm saying? That's like, it's just a crazy point to put it. Right. And then, like, going back to the real world, like, what makes this world worth abandoning? That it's not his, that he's from the normal world? Because then it's saying, like, okay, the world, like, I'm bound, I guess maybe that's the idea, that, like, he's no longer bound to his school, so now he's binding himself to the real world, and he's accentuating that's an important thing to bind yourself to by going to a false world. So it's like, I'm no longer a student, I'm just Araragi, but then he's like, oh, wait a second, no, I'm Araragi within the real world. And so to accentuate that point as being important, he's taken to a false world, and it's like, this isn't my world, which proves that the other world is my world, which gives me something to stabilize myself by, something to like, something to make my thing you impress on somebody. They literally said the word. But like, call myself, title, something to title myself by. So now he's titling himself by being not the purest Araragi, but being the Araragi within the real world. So that's the idea. So it's him countering this entire mirror world. It's him countering this thought of him, saying that he's just the realest him, the purest. Yeah. So he's giving himself a title of being of the real world, not of the mirror world. Question mark? I think that could be at play. I don't know if I would say he's giving himself, but rather he's being like, that's being played, right? That's what's being played, is that he's in a world where that forces him to realize that the real world, he has the title of being of the world. Boom. Like, even if you're not a student, like, you're still of the world. Boom. That's where I'm at with that. My freaking goodness. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this episode. And this OP, I'm going to have fun reading through the OP. Where's Ougi is a big question. We're going to get to see Ougi's reflection. Would be really interesting. If Ougi's really nice and sweet, that'd be really freaking funny, dude. Oh, wait a second. These are all the parts of myself that I love. Yay! Isn't it? Who is that? Is that Nadeko? Nadeko has an Araragi plush? Is she back to being obsessive here? And it's all reflections, mirrors, right? Like, you see two of her. Her back's against a mirror. Weird, and crazy, man. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for this episode, because your boy's been yapping for a long time. I'm going to definitely, am excited to look at this a bit more fruitfully next time. Definitely look at the OPED. Got some things to think about like the nature of reflection and stuff. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. Episode 1 of Zoku, or Monogatari. On the next episode 2 should be excited. Of course. If you like the video, subscribe if you are new. Comment below if you have anything to say. Join the Discord, talk to me or other Zoku or Monogatari fans there. But until then, until next episode, that's our effort. I will be seeing you then.